Now coming to this capital market space, which is what we are all excited about, and we believe that in the coming 3 to 6 month window, this data will be available for consumption by the FIUs. Today, this information or a part of this information is available as CAS, and people can make different use cases out of that. But given that this information now can be shared real time, can be shared basis consent, and can be fetched at a frequency that is defined and consented by the user, you can make a lot of use cases around that, which means that you can make advisory on what are the mutual funds that they have invested in, what is the asset allocation, what is the risk allocation, whether this person is optimized in their risk or in their asset allocation or not. You can make use of this data and match it with other APIs to create value adds. Like you can use value research APIs to see that what is the underlying assets in which this investor is invested in, what are the sectors in which this investor is invested in, whether that sector has a positive outlook or a negative outlook, and all of that information now being available, you will be able to give significantly better advice on whether the investments are in the right direction or not. On top of that, given that this information will also, you can match this information along with the bank information to see whether the SIPs that this investor has, whether those SIPs are getting honored continuously, whether the SIPs that are already on, whether they are, whether they can be extended, whether the Cs is coming for an SIP, whether an SIP is coming to an end date. All those use cases are possible and will be possible through the account aggregator platform and the PSP platform that we have built. And putting these two use cases together, which is the bank statement analyzer and the capital markets analyzer, this is the widget that kind of again will give a composite picture of that investor. Again, it will create a persona, and based on that persona, the PFMs can create algorithms and create models basis which they can take usage of the income information, the expenditure information, and the asset information to create models on the exposure, and then can go ahead and give all the advice. The other use case that we keep talking about. Now going to the second use case, which is the money managing use case. So this will just give you a sense of what the journey on an application will look like. So if you go to explore now, this is our account aggregator journey today. So if you click on one of the banks which are listed, we give the FIP this request with the bank, and the investor sees this screen. So the mobile number is basically the key with which the accounts are fetched, and it is going to basis that OTP. The discovery happens that what are the different accounts which are linked to that mobile number. All those accounts are listed here. The consent parameters which are there on the top of the block, the user can see what are the consent that the user is giving, what is the frequency of the data fetch, what is the reason for which the data is requested for, what is the data live. All of those values are given on the top that the investor can see, and hopefully we will be able to stop abuse of these consent by making sure that the investor has visibility of what the investor is giving consent for. Once the investor sees all of that and agrees to link these accounts, you click the FIP, in this case the Axis Bank, will now send a OTP to the investor's mobile number that is linked. The investor puts in that mobile number. The investor can add more accounts if they want through this number or a different number. So that's also possible as part of the journey. But if the investor has only that account number and all of that is fetched, no, we'll just, or you can discover. So this use case was just to show that as part of the same journey, the investor can discover mobile account numbers from the banks, can discover mutual fund accounts and can match and can give consent for all of that in the same journey. So in HDFC mutual fund, what are the different folios that the investor has? Again, you can select, and now there will be an OTP from, in this case, from the RTA side to link those accounts. And now all of this have been, linked. The consent request has been given, and then as investor submits consent, the investor goes back to the calling application, and now we can present a view of the total asset and liability situation of that investor, which is our money manager application. So you can now see that if you click on income, the bank statement analyzer that I talked about in the first slide, it has categorized it into what are the different fixed incomes, which is regular income that comes in his account, his or her account, salary, rental, interest on savings and all, and additional income that has come for that particular month or that particular duration. All of that categorization is possible. In the investment sides, this has come from the capital markets part, and which is what we believe will be a great use case. So it can categorize that what are the mutual fund holdings, what are the stock holdings, other holdings, and if you go into one of them, we can show a series of data points that is interesting and useful to the investor. So now, given that the investor has given consent of the folios of HDFC, in this screen they can see that, okay, if the investor had given two folios, and if nominee information which is critical, and we are talking about it just before the evening around the regulation, if nominee information is critical and one of the folios do not have nomination, it can get flagged off right there, and then it can be added right there, right? Now, it will give information on that in HDFC mutual fund, what are the total amount invested, what is the asset growth that has happened, how many units are marked under lien, how many units are free. All of that information is available for people to consume, and this is that give advice on, right? Go to SIP side, it again shows that again. So we know that from this information that what is the SIP date. On that date, if it is close by, the PFM can advise and mention that, this folio has an SIP upcoming and your account does not have enough money. So you can give a low balance alert and ask the user to add money. It also gives some information on number of active SIPs that are currently there, what is the total commitment per month, last 6 months, last 12 months, how many bounces have happened. So a multitude of use cases that can be thought of by assimilating and collating this information and presenting it in a consumable fashion. And as I was saying, that the other use case is taking third-party data like data from value research and even adding more value to the core information coming. So the mutual fund information you have, but underlying what is the sector allocation, what is the asset size allocation, so large cap, mid cap and all of that. So what is the risk exposure of this user, whether it matches with the asset allocation, and then you can give advisory on what else the user can do and where the user can invest in. And this is the third part, which is the expense categorization. Again, we spoke about it in the bank statement analyzer part, that what are the discretionary expenses, which means that this is the money that will always go out of that investor's account, and what is non-discretionary, which will again help you create a persona of this user and say that, this is the money around which you can give advice and make sure that the investor is, using this money to maybe grow his or her wealth rather than spending or impulse buying.